My dear friend, today I want to sit down with you unhurriedly, like long-lost soulmates, to confide in each other about something you have undoubtedly experienced many times in life. That is the feeling of being treated badly by others, of being hurt by words or actions we never expected. Sometimes within the family, it's a blood relative who unintentionally utters words that wound us. At work, it might be a colleague or superior who judges and looks down on us. In love, there are times when we are abandoned or betrayed. When all these things strike, they are no different from sharp blades, carving into our hearts, leaving wounds that often feel like they will never heal. But do you know? In Buddhist teachings, there is a profound truth. Everything we experience is not random. Every person we meet in life, whether a friend or one who causes us pain, comes together due to karmic affinity. Good people come to bring us comfort and love. Those who make us sad are precisely the ones who bring us a lesson in forbearance and letting go. And above all, they are helping us bear a portion of karma from many lifetimes. When they hurt us, they are actually paying off a debt for us, bearing a portion of the karmic retribution that we rightfully should have endured. Perhaps you will ask why they treat you badly when you haven't done anything wrong. My friend, karma doesn't only begin in this lifetime. It's like a seed sown in the ground. Some seeds sprout in just a few days, but others must wait many years before they bloom and bear fruit. The suffering today is sometimes the result of karmic causes sown long, long ago. Sometimes in this lifetime, sometimes from a previous one. Therefore, instead of blaming those who hurt us, let's try to look at them with compassionate eyes, grateful that they came to help us release the invisible burden of our karmic obstacles. Buddhist scriptures teach that if humans learn to take suffering as a teacher, every wound becomes an opportunity for growth. The pain we receive today, if transformed, will become wisdom tomorrow. And the person who makes us cry, who makes us suffer, is precisely a special karmic connection sent to help us practice letting go, cultivate patience, and learn to love even in adversity. Just as a precious gem needs to be polished to shine, humans seeking peace must go through the crucible of suffering. So, my friend, don't be sad when someone treats you badly. Consider it part of a journey for purification, to pay off old karma. Thank them, not because they hurt us, but because through them, we realize how much attachment we still have, how much more we need to learn to let go of. And when gratitude arises in our hearts instead of resentment, you will find the wound in your heart gradually softens. Then, one day, we can smile serenely at everything that happens, whether favorable or unfavorable. Perhaps in this life, everyone has at least once thought and wondered why they live kindly, harming no one, yet others still treat them badly. That question often arises after we are betrayed, misunderstood, exploited, or simply oppressed at work. Sometimes we sit alone late at night, feeling a heavy heart, thinking that life is truly unfair. But my friend, if we have the opportunity to delve deeper into Buddhist teachings, we will realize that nothing happens randomly. Every event, big or small, is the result of karmic causes and conditions, of the seeds that we and others have sown before, sometimes long ago, sometimes from distant past lives. In Buddhist scriptures, the law of karma is mentioned many times. The Buddha once taught that beings are the owners of their karma, the heirs of their karma. Karma is their womb. Karma is their kin. Karma is their refuge. Whatever karma beings create, good or bad, they will inherit that karma. This statement means that every action, every word, every thought that arises does not vanish, but is like a seed sown in the mind. Sooner or later, it will bear fruit. The fruit may come in this life, or it may come in a future life, but it absolutely never disappears. That is the profound principle of karma. So, when someone treats us unkindly, instead of asking, "Why me?" we can try to turn the question around. Could this be the result of a past karmic connection that I once created? Not to blame, not to justify, but to understand that everything has its roots. The person who hurts us, viewed from a different angle, is actually helping us pay back a debt that we haven't yet settled. If we accept it without resentment, that debt is resolved. I want to tell you an everyday story. In the Mekong Delta, there was a famous fish vendor named Mr. Tu. In his youth, he was skillful, quick, and articulate, so his business thrived. But there was one thing. Mr. Tu had a habit of shortchanging customers on fish weight. Sometimes he intentionally placed his hand on the scale. Other times, he quickly scooped out a few fish. When customers noticed, he would just laugh it off, saying it was nothing. Over time, that habit became second nature. He didn't see deceit as unusual. Thanks to this, over many years, Mr. Tu accumulated a considerable amount of capital, built a large house, and lived much more prosperously than others. But life is impermanent. As he grew old, Mr. Tu faced undesirable circumstances. His eldest son contracted a terminal illness, and all his accumulated wealth had to be spent on treatment. In the end, the illness was not cured, and the money ran out. His second daughter continuously incurred business losses, borrowing everywhere, plunging the family into deep debt. Even Mr. Tu himself, in his twilight years, suffered from many illnesses, constantly confined to bed. From a man of means, Mr. Tu became penniless. It was then that he reflected on his entire life and sighed, "Deceit for a time pays for a lifetime." Mr. Tu's story is not for us to judge, but to remind us that the law of karma operates very fairly. When we sow bad seeds, even if it seems beneficial at times, sooner or later, we will reap the consequences. Similarly, when others treat us badly, sometimes they are merely playing the role of bringing the karmic retribution of a seed we once sowed. The important thing is not to resent them, but to recognize the lesson and know how to transform suffering into wisdom. Imagine, if this life is a vast field, then every action, every word we utter is a seed sown. Some seeds will grow into lush green trees, bearing fragrant flowers and sweet fruits. But other seeds, if they are bad, will grow into thorns, hurting ourselves. When others treat us badly, it is simply when those thorns sprout. If we know that it comes from old seeds we unintentionally sowed, we will resent less, and instead feel gratitude. Because thanks to that, we pay off an old debt. So what must we do to no longer suffer from this law of karma? First, we need to be mindful in our every thought and action. When we speak truthfully, when we do good deeds, we are sowing good seeds for the future. Each time we are patient, each time we forgive, we resolve another part of our karmic connections. The Buddha taught that to escape suffering, one must understand suffering, look directly at its causes, and know the path to peace. That is the four noble truths that he left for sentient beings to practice in life. We can start with very small things. Instead of reacting harshly when someone hurts us, try to breathe deeply, reflect, and tell yourself, perhaps this is the fruit of an old karmic connection that I am accepting to lighten my burden. When we change our perspective, our heart will feel less heavy. In addition, practice doing good deeds daily, speaking kindly, helping someone when you can, and being honest even in the smallest things. These small acts are how we sow good seeds for the future, so that one day we can reap the sweet fruits of peace. Karma is not meant for us to fear, but for us to live mindfully. When we understand that everything has a cause, we will feel lighter in the face of hurts. And when we know how to sow good seeds, we will see life become more beautiful day by day. So, my friend, if someone treats you badly today, don't rush to resent them. Consider it an opportunity to pay off old debts, learn new lessons, and take another step on the path to finding peace. Have you ever wondered why some people treat you badly, even though you haven't done anything to them? This question haunts many people. Sometimes we lie awake all night thinking, heartbroken by the rejection of a loved one, by injustice at work, or by the harsh words of a seemingly close friend. That feeling is like an invisible wound that makes our heart bleed day by day. People say that wounds from blades heal, but wounds left by unfair words and actions can sometimes stay with us for a lifetime. But my friend, if we calmly look deeply into the root cause of these behaviors, we will realize that not everyone who treats us badly is inherently evil or malicious. Often, they themselves are immersed in suffering, carrying heavy karmic burdens, and are ignorant, unable to find a way out for themselves. In Buddhist teachings, one of the important truths pointed out by the Buddha is the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering. There is the origin of suffering. There is the cessation of suffering. And there is the path to the cessation of suffering. When we see others treating us badly, instead of just seeing them as the cause of our suffering, we can see that they too are victims of that cycle of suffering. A person living in ignorance, whose mind is filled with anger and hatred, is like someone carrying a burning fire. That fire will burn themselves and also scorch anyone who comes near. Therefore, when they speak harsh words, when they act unfairly, it is because the fire within them is raging, not necessarily because we deserve it. I remember once hearing about Ms. Han, a seamstress in a small workshop. She was kind, diligent, and worked with dedication. Yet, she was constantly scolded and harshly reprimanded by her manager, even unfairly many times, for mistakes she didn't cause. Each time, Ms. Han would just remain silent, swallowing her tears. Sometimes she would go home, sewing and crying, thinking her fate was truly miserable, always encountering people who treated her unfairly. But then one day, through the account of a close colleague, she learned that the manager had experienced a turbulent marriage. She was betrayed by her husband, who left her for another, leaving her alone with 2 young children. For years, she lived in bitterness and resentment, struggling to raise her children while enduring social scorn. It was these wounds that made her short-tempered, harsh, and made her vent her frustrations on those around her. When she learned this, a sense of empathy suddenly arose in Mrs. Han's heart. Of course, the pain of being unjustly scolded didn't disappear immediately. But she understood that the manager was also just a human being, suffering, struggling in her own darkness. From then on, each time she was scolded, instead of feeling resentful as before, Ms. Han chose to remain silent, breathe deeply, and think that the person inflicting pain was also a person in pain. This shift in perspective helped her feel less pain, less resentment, and instead cultivate compassion. Reflecting on it, we clearly see that those who hurt us are often victims of life themselves. An alcoholic father who hits and scolds his children may have himself been a child who grew up in violence. A person who often speaks mockingly and harshly to others may be full of complexes and low self-esteem in their heart. Someone willing to deceive for their own gain may have lived too long in poverty and deprivation, causing their greed to powerfully surge. All are manifestations of ignorance, of suffering that has not been transformed. The Buddha once taught that all sentient beings create karma out of ignorance and suffer because of karma. When we understand this, we no longer see ourselves as the sole victims of life, but realize that we and they are all caught in the cycle of karma, all subject to the influence of karmic forces. The only difference is whether we choose to be mindful to escape. If we harbor resentment, we continue to sow bad seeds, and suffering will follow suffering. But if we know how to stop, how to look with compassionate eyes, then at that very moment, we have sown a good seed, opening a path to peace for both ourselves and others. So how should we practice when encountering people who treat us badly? First, practice breathing deeply and remind yourself that they are also suffering. Don't rush to react with anger, because fire meeting fire only makes the flames burn stronger. Instead, we can choose silence, choose to let go, or gently speak in a soft tone. If possible, offer them some empathy, as Ms. Han did, because compassion not only heals others, but also soothes our own heart. Furthermore, try to look at everyone with a broader perspective. Don't just see them in the present, but understand that they also have a past with many wounds. When we see the root cause, we will be less fixated on their current actions. Remember that the more a person hurts us, the more opportunities they give us to practice patience and compassion. Without such adversities, it would be difficult for us to grow spiritually. And my friend, don't forget to take care of yourself. Don't let the hurts from others make you forget that you deserve to be loved and to be at peace. When someone treats you badly, consider it a test to learn how to keep your mind calm and not be swept away. Make time for meditation, for chanting, for reciting the Buddha's name to nurture a strong inner self. When our inner light is bright and strong enough, external darkness will no longer be able to invade. I want to remind you that the person who hurts us is often just a suffering person. They are like a bird with broken wings, fluttering erratically, accidentally dropping a few feathers that cause others pain. If we only look at that pain and resent them, we will never see the truth that they too need healing. When we understand that, our heart will open, feel lighter, and love will blossom within our own heart. In this life, perhaps none of us have ever felt slighted because others treated us badly. Sometimes we are misunderstood, spoken to harshly, or blamed for mistakes we didn't commit. At such times, our heart feels like it's being rubbed with salt. We are both sad and angry. Sometimes we even harbor thoughts of resenting the other person, wondering why they treated us so unfairly. But if we calm down and look deeper, we will see that hidden beneath that layer of suffering is a precious lesson that life is offering us. And the person who hurts us is actually helping us bear a part of our karmic burden. If we are enlightened enough, patient enough, and have enough faith in karma, we will realize that they are not only the ones who cause us suffering, but also the ones who help us clear away an invisible burden that we have carried for many lifetimes. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha once taught that every event in life has its causes and conditions. Not a single leaf falls without wind. Not a single raindrop falls without clouds. So, no suffering comes to us without a cause. When someone does something unskillful to us, when they cause us pain, it is not random. It is karma in action. Perhaps in the distant past, in some lifetime, we once did something unskillful, sowed a bad seed with that person or with someone else, and now the fruit has ripened, and we must taste it. But instead of heavy resentment, we can change our perspective. We can consider them as people who are helping us pay off a debt, as if they are bearing a part of our karmic retribution, so that our journey afterward can be lighter. I want to tell you a story about a truck driver named Min. His life was not prosperous. He drove long distances daily to support his wife and 2 young children. One day, while he was stopped by the roadside, an accident happened nearby. Because Min's truck was close to the scene, people hastily accused him of being the culprit, even though he was not involved at all. Rumors spread. He was summoned by the police for questioning. Friends and neighbors whispered and gossiped. Some even criticized him for being irresponsible. Min endured all kinds of slander. His spirits plummeted, his work stalled, and his family suffered along with him. If it were you, how unjustly would you feel? An undeserved injustice fell upon him, turning his whole life upside down. Yet, what surprised people was his attitude. He didn't get angry, nor did he go around explaining and complaining. Deep down, he understood that everything happens for a reason. If not now, then it would be another time. He accepted that injustice with the belief that this was an opportunity to pay off a past debt. He endured patiently, quietly accepted the disadvantage, and continued to live harmoniously with everyone. Time passed, and the truth eventually came to light. He was exonerated, and surprisingly, after that incident, his work became more favorable than before. Unexpectedly, good contracts came his way. His family also became more cohesive, and his children were obedient and studied hard. Looking back, it was his patience in the face of injustice that opened a new, lighter, and more peaceful door for him. Through Min's story, we can see that sometimes the people who hurt us unintentionally become benefactors. They help us bear a part of our karmic retribution. If we resent them, we only tie ourselves more tightly to the cycle of karma. But if we know how to thank them and let go of hatred, not only do we escape suffering, but we also resolve old karmic forces, creating more blessings for ourselves. The Dhammapada states, "Hatred does not cease by hatred. By love alone does it cease." That is a reminder for us that the way we deal with hurt will determine our peace or distress later on. In daily life, you might find yourself being undermined at work, slandered by colleagues, betrayed by friends, or even unfairly blamed by family members. When these things happen, try to pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and tell yourself that perhaps this is the fruit of your karma ripening. The other person is merely the condition for that retribution to manifest. So, they are not an enemy, but precisely someone who helps you bear a part of your old debt. When you change your perspective like that, you will find your heart badminton and lighten considerably. Instead of harboring bitterness, you open your heart to gratitude. And that gratitude is the light that illuminates and dissolves the darkness in your soul. Practicing this is not easy. Not everyone can endure injustice with patience. But you can start with the smallest things. When someone says something unkind to you, instead of reacting harshly, smile and let it pass. When criticized, see it as an opportunity to practice letting go of your ego. When misunderstood, let time prove itself. Little by little, you are learning to transform suffering into peace. And the more you practice patience, the more you will find your heart expand, no longer deeply hurt by harsh words. Life is inherently short. We should not waste our precious time on resentment. The person who treats us badly is just one karmic connection among countless others. And sometimes they are the bridge that takes us across a marsh of sorrow to a more peaceful land. If we keep standing there, blaming and resenting, we will only sink deeper into the mire. But if we walk with gratitude, we will find our feet steady and lighter. Each act of patience is a payment of debt. Each act of forgiveness is a lightening of burden. And each act of gratitude is an opening of the soul to receive blessings. So, starting today, try to cultivate this habit. When treated badly, instead of letting your heart rage, put your palms together mentally and silently say, "Thank you." Thank them for giving you the opportunity to cultivate patience. Thank them for helping you pay off a part of your old karma. And thank them because through them, you learned precious lessons about karma, about letting go, about gratitude. Once you can do that, you will realize that life is not as harsh as you imagined. The person who hurts you is actually also the one who helps you grow and walk more steadily on the path to peace. Therefore, don't be sad when someone treats you badly. Thank them. Because, who knows, in the unseen depths, they are helping you bear a part of your karmic connection that, without them, you would still have to carry for a very long time. In life, all of us at some point have been hurt by others. It could be a harsh word from a loved one, a betrayal in friendship, or the pain of loss due to deceit. These memories sometimes linger deep in our hearts, making it impossible to forget. Many people live their entire lives in remorse and hatred because they cannot forgive those who treated them badly. But do you realize that these grudges are invisible chains binding our souls, preventing us from ever truly finding peace? Forgiveness is not forgiving others, but forgiving ourselves. Because if our heart still harbors anger and resentment, we are the ones who must bear unending suffering. Some might ask, why should I forgive someone who hurt me? Do they deserve it? In truth, forgiveness does not mean forgetting everything or pretending nothing happened. Forgiveness is not condoning wrongdoing. Forgiveness is an act of liberation. It liberates us from sleepless nights, from the pain that smolders, from mental wounds that will never heal if we keep digging them up and clinging to them. The Buddha once taught us saying that always resonates deeply. Hatred does not cease by hatred. By love alone does it cease. This teaching is like a torch illuminating the dark path of the human heart. If we repay hatred with hatred, the cycle of resentment will never end. Only by using love and compassion to look at the faults of others can we truly find peace. In Buddhist scriptures, it is said that resentment is like a blazing fire. When we cling to resentment in our hearts, it is no different from holding that fire ourselves to burn ourselves, hoping that others also get burned. But in the end, who suffers the most? It is us. Forgiveness is putting that fire down. When we put the fire down, we are no longer burned and our hearts become lighter and more open. Therefore, forgiveness is not a weakness, but a great strength, the strength to save ourselves before drowning in hatred. I want to tell you the story of Ms. Lu, a woman who sold goods at the market. All her life, she worked hard to take care of her family, selling and raising her children for their education. Among her friends at the market, there was one as close as a sister. They often confided, shared joys and sorrows, and even helped each other at work. Yet, during a difficult time, Ms. Li trusted her friend and lent her a large sum of money. At first, the friend promised to repay it soon, but then made one excuse after another to delay. Until one day, Mrs. Li realized that her friend had left, abandoning everything without a word. The money was completely lost, her trust shattered, and their years-long friendship vanished. The months that followed were a torment for Ms. Li. Every night she lost sleep, regretting the money and suffering from the betrayal. The more she thought about it, the more she hated, the more she resented. But then, by chance, one day she went to the pagoda and heard the abbot preach the scripture, "Hatred does not cease by hatred. By love alone does it cease." That teaching awakened an insight within her. If she continued to harbor resentment, who would suffer first but herself? The other person had left. They were no longer troubled. Only she remained, embracing suffering. So she began to practice letting go. She sat in meditation, took a deep breath, and exhaled, imagining releasing all the anger, all the grudges. Every day she did this as a healing habit. As time slowly passed, she found her heart soften and lighten. Despite losing money, despite being betrayed, in return, she learned a great lesson. Forgiveness is not granting favor to others, but liberating oneself. From that story, we can look back at ourselves. Who knows? Perhaps in our hearts, we too carry an old wound, a lingering resentment. Perhaps a loved one once said something that hurt us. Perhaps a friend once deceived us, or someone at work caused us loss. We keep holding on to those things, clinging tightly to them in our hearts, thinking that by doing so, we won't be easily fooled, won't be easily looked down upon. But the truth is, we only cause ourselves suffering. The tighter we hold on, the greater the pain. Forgiveness is like opening our hand to let the pebble fall. That pebble was never part of our heart, but we kept holding it, making our hand tired, our heart hardened. Forgiveness is also a practice in Buddhism. Perhaps you have never tried it, but I want to share a forgiveness meditation exercise that many people have practiced and felt its transformation. Sit down, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. As you inhale, imagine you are bringing peaceful light into your mind. As you exhale, visualize all resentment and hatred dissolving and drifting away like smoke. Imagine the face of the person who once hurt you appearing before your eyes. Don't rush to blame. Don't rush to be angry. Just look at them as a human being who is also mistaken, also bearing their own karmic retribution. Gently say in your heart, I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I want my heart to be at peace. Repeat this many times, and you will feel the burden in your heart gradually lighten. When we know how to forgive, we can truly move forward. Life is short and impermanent. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. If today we keep clinging to old sorrows, are we not wasting every precious moment of our lives? Try to think, instead of harboring resentment, we could use that time to love our family, to take care of ourselves, to live more joyfully. Wouldn't life become much more meaningful? So, my friend, practice forgiveness. Not to forgive the person who hurt us, but to give ourselves an opportunity to be happy. When we forgive, we open the door to liberation. When we forgive, we give ourselves an invaluable gift, peace. And when we forgive, we are following the Buddha's teachings, sowing a wholesome seed to reap peace in this life and in future lives. I just want to send a simple message in this turbulent human realm. Let forgiveness become the key to opening the door of peace for your soul. For only when you let go of hatred can you truly be free. In life, everyone carries, to some extent, wounds from others' hurts in their hearts. It might be an unintentional word that stings, a betrayal that shatters our trust, or contempt that makes us feel small and worthless. These wounds initially make us falter, cry, sometimes even collapse, feeling like we can't stand up again. Yet, looking back years later, we realize that these very hurts taught us invaluable lessons, helping us grow, become stronger, and wiser. The person who caused us pain turns out to be the silent teacher who guides us through darkness to find the light in our soul. The Buddha taught that this life is inherently suffering, and that suffering comes in countless forms, from birth, old age, sickness, and death, to being deceived, scorned, or betrayed by others. All of these are part of the impermanent nature of human existence. No one can avoid emotional shocks on the journey of being human. If we cling to a wound, it will torment us endlessly. But if we can see it in the light of the law of karma and karmic connections, we will realize that those who hurt us are actually helping us bear a part of our karma. Their actions, though painful, open an opportunity for us to reflect on ourselves, to learn to stand up, and to grow stronger. I remember a very common story about a man named Dung. He was a hard-working, kind welder who deeply trusted his friends. One time, he and a few friends took on a rather large project. After many months of hard work, when the project was completed, the wages that should have been equally divided were secretly taken entirely by his close friends, leaving him with nothing. At that moment, Dung felt like he had fallen into a deep abyss, betrayed to his very bones. For many days, he lived in despair, not knowing how to face life. But then, in that pain, he suddenly realized that if he kept clinging to resentment, he would only torment himself. Every wound would eventually heal. Only the soul imprisoned in hatred would never be liberated. He remembered his father's words. People are not better off by how others treat them, but by what they learn from how people treat them. Thanks to that setback, he resolved to rise again, taking small jobs, gradually accumulating experience and money. A few years later, he established his own construction team, working honorably, with integrity, and living honestly. The people who had betrayed him drifted into debt and lost the trust of others. But he became a respected man, esteemed by many. That story shows us that sometimes those who bring us pain are precisely the ones who give us an opportunity to change our destiny. They are like teachers in the dark, teaching us lessons that if we didn't experience them, we would never truly understand. Karma operates very fairly. Those who cause suffering to others will later bear the consequences of their own actions. As for us, if we know how to learn from pain, we will walk more steadily with a broader soul. In Buddhist scriptures, it is taught that everything that happens to us is within the realm of karmic causes and conditions. When someone hurts us, it may be old karma ripening. If we resent, we only continue to sow seeds of suffering for ourselves. But if we know how to be grateful that they helped us pay off a part of our karma, we will feel much lighter. It's like a person carrying a heavy burden on their shoulder. If someone accidentally takes a part of it away, even if it hurts us to lose it, the burden has actually become lighter. The reality of life is the same. You may have been betrayed by a friend, abandoned by a lover, oppressed by a colleague, or misunderstood by a family member. All these things do not happen by chance. Behind them is karma, karmic debts from many lifetimes. Instead of asking, "Why me?" try to think that this very incident is helping us cleanse ourselves, forging us to become stronger and wiser. So what should we do when hurt knocks on our door? First, allow yourself to grieve and cry if needed. Don't force yourself to be strong immediately, because emotions are natural. But afterward, learn to look at the situation with a broader perspective. Ask yourself, what lesson is this teaching me? Can I grow stronger from this? When we shift from an attitude of blame to one of learning, hurt transforms into a lesson, and pain transforms into strength. Practice meditation, deep breathing, and chanting the Buddha's name whenever your mind is haunted by painful memories. When we recite the Buddha's name, we connect with a source of peaceful energy, helping our soul to calm down, no longer dwelling in hatred. Write down your pain, and then light incense before the Buddha altar. Read it aloud, and vow to let go. This simple action is like a healing ritual, helping us gradually feel lighter. One day, when we look back, we will see that we have traveled a long way, and the old wounds are no longer a haunting obsession, but have become a foundation for us to be proud of how strong we have become. The person who once caused us pain turns out to be the one who propelled us faster on the path to enlightenment. Because thanks to them, we learned how to let go, how to see through karma, and how to live altruistically. So, my friend, whenever your heart bleeds from betrayal or contempt, remember that it is not the end. It is just one chapter in the book of life, and that chapter may be very painful, but it will open new chapters where you become more mature, resilient, and insightful. Don't hate the person who hurt you. Thank them, because thanks to them, you learned how to walk alone but not be lonely. You learned how to smile in the storm and to cherish those who truly love you. A wound does not make us fall forever. It is merely teaching us that we can get up, move forward, and become a better version of ourselves. In this life, I'm sure all of us have at least once wondered why we have to go through so many bitter experiences. Sometimes it's the scornful looks when we don't have enough money to buy something we need. Sometimes it's harsh words from our own family members that, instead of comforting, weigh down our hearts even more. Sometimes it's the indifference from colleagues or betrayal from someone we once trusted completely. These things make us feel frustrated, heartbroken, and often lose faith in this life. We feel small, lost, and weak in a world full of challenges and injustices. Yet, if we take the time to listen to the Buddha's teachings, we will understand that these sufferings are not meant to defeat us, but are profound lessons to train our minds and inner strength. The Buddha once taught that life is a sea of suffering, but suffering is not for us to blame or wallow in sadness, but for us to recognize its causes and find a way out. The Four Noble Truths point out that suffering is an undeniable truth. The cause of suffering lies in human greed, hatred, and delusion. The path to the cessation of suffering is cultivation and nurturing wisdom. If there were no suffering, we would never realize the value of peace. Just as a thirsty person appreciates a drop of water, a person who has been hurt understands the meaning of compassion and love. Therefore, adversity is not a prison that binds us, but precisely the fire that forges, tempers, and illuminates the noble qualities in each person's soul. There's a beautiful image in Buddhism that is often mentioned: the lotus seed. The lotus seed does not grow in dry land or clean gardens, but sprouts from muddy swamps. It is the muddy water that nourishes the lotus to grow tall and bloom into pure, pristine flowers. Without mud, there would be no lotus. And without adversities and challenges, we would hardly have the opportunity to grow and radiate virtue. The image of the lotus from the mud is a profound lesson on how to view life. Adversity is not meaningless. It is the foundation for creating resilience, perseverance, and compassion. I want to tell you the story of Miss Lan. She was born into a poor family. Her husband died early, leaving her with 2 small children. Without a stable job, she had to make a living by selling lottery tickets on the street. On scorching hot days, sweat would drip, soaking her old clothes. Her worn-out sandals would drag along every alley. On torrential rainy days, she would huddle in her torn raincoat, trying to sell each ticket with the hope of buying rice for her children. Many people looked at her with pity. Some even mocked and chased her away. There were times when she felt so humiliated that she cried alone in the middle of the night. But instead of giving up, she chose to persevere. She said that if she fell, her 2 children would have no one to rely on. Years passed, and through hardship, Ms. Lan quietly walked the streets every day, saving every penny. She not only provided food for her children, but also taught them to be upright, to respect their elders, and yield to others, and to live with love and integrity. Her 2 children grew up in material scarcity, but were filled with love and resilience. Later, one passed the university entrance exam, and the other became an engineer. Seeing her children grow up, she smiled through tears. People said she was like a lotus seed from the mud. It was adversity, It was the scorn of others that gave her the strength to rise magnificently, like a pure lotus blooming in the mud. Ms. Lan's story reminds us that sometimes it is precisely the hurts, the harsh words, or the scornful glances that serve as a test to measure the strength of our soul. If we only resent, we will drown ourselves in suffering. But if we know how to be grateful, we will find strength from within. Thank the person who once hurt you, because thanks to them, you learned how to stand firm. You learned compassion and the power of perseverance. Have you noticed? Adversity is like fire. Fire can burn down a house. But that same fire, if used wisely, can cook food, provide warmth, and bring light. Adversity is the same. It can burn our soul in hatred. But if we look at it through the light of Buddhist teachings, it will be a fire that illuminates our path, helping us clearly see how we should live rightly. The Buddha once said that within suffering lies the seed of peace. We only need to contemplate diligently, and from that very suffering, we will find the path to liberation. In daily life, we can practice some small things that bring great strength. When insulted by others, instead of retaliating, remain silent and breathe deeply. Silently tell yourself, "They are bearing karma for me. They are sowing karmic speech for themselves. I don't need to harbor more hatred in my heart." When facing difficulties, remind yourself, this is just a challenge. I will overcome it, just like the lotus growing from the mud. When remembering those who once hurt us, instead of resenting, send a silent word of thanks in your heart. Thank you, because, thanks to you, I learned how to be stronger. This very gratitude will help our heart feel lighter, our soul at peace. Adversity is also like rain. Rain makes us wet, makes the roads muddy, making our steps heavier. But that same rain makes the earth and sky cool, makes seeds sprout, makes flowers and fruits bloom. If we only look at the inconvenience of the rain, we will find it annoying. But if we look deeper, we will realize that it contains blessings and opportunities. So instead of blaming adversity, learn to smile and be grateful for it. When we sit down and look back at our past life, we will see that peaceful days rarely leave a deep impression. It is the stormy days, the times we were hurt, that make us grow and understand people more deeply. Like the lotus from the mud, adversity tempers our will and inner strength so that we live a deeper and more fulfilling life. Remember that without adversity, there will be no ascent. And don't forget that when we are grateful for even the things that once hurt us, we will find true peace. Adversity is not an enemy, but a teacher. And the person who hurts us is actually helping to refine us so that we become a stronger and wiser version of ourselves. So instead of being sad, smile and silently give thanks. Because deep down, everything has karmic causes and conditions, and everything is leading us to a greater growth. In this life, I'm sure we all, at some point, wonder why some people do bad things and still live at ease, while kind people often suffer many disadvantages. This feeling sometimes makes us frustrated, feeling as if the universe is unfair, as if karma is just empty comfort. However, if we calmly sit down, listen to our breath, and carefully observe the stories around us, you will realize that everything has a cause. Nothing arises naturally, and nothing disappears naturally. Life operates according to an unseen order, that is the law of karma. And under that law of karma, no one can escape. No one is clever enough to circumvent the laws of the universe. People often say you reap what you sow, but we are often impatient. And when the fruit hasn't ripened yet, we immediately doubt the seed. Those who do evil may still eat well and live comfortably, driving luxury cars and living in large houses. But are you sure they are truly at peace in their souls? And are you sure that the blessings they are enjoying are not just remnants from good karma they sowed in previous lives? The Buddha taught that karma is like a flowing river that never stops. Wholesome water brings sweet fruits, while unwholesome water will sweep them into dark abysses. The so-called fairness of the universe does not always appear before our eyes. Sometimes it comes after many years, even after many lifetimes. But when it comes, it will surely come, without the slightest deviation. There's a story my villagers used to tell. In those days, there was a landlord named Kai in the village. He was incredibly rich, with vast fields, but his greed was bottomless. He found every way to exploit the poor, making them work tirelessly from early morning until late night for meager wages. If they owed him, he would force them to mortgage their land and lose their homes. People complained and cursed, but dared not resist because he had money, power, and even henchmen to protect him. For a long time, the villagers lived in misery, watching him indulge in feasts. His children and grandchildren received a full education, which only deepened their resentment. They sighed, believing that Mr. Kai must have good fortune to enjoy such a rich life. But then the wheel of karma began to turn. As he grew old, his wealth was squandered on extravagant parties, on his children's addictions, waywardness, and squabbles. His eldest son mortgaged their fields and sold all the ancestral land to fund his lavish lifestyle. His youngest son left home and vanished. His wife, who had endured much bitterness because of her husband, eventually left to become a nun. Old and sick, Mr. Kai lay curled up in a dilapidated house with no one around to care. Neighbors looked at the scene and simply uttered, "Karma is fair, not a single inch off." You see, life is a teacher. What Mr. Kai had sown eventually bore fruit. He had caused so many people to suffer, and in the end, he himself had to pay the price with loneliness, poverty, and illness. The blessings that seemed endless were actually just fleeting clouds. When unwholesome karma had sufficient conditions, the bitter fruit ripened, and no one could escape it. This also teaches us a profound lesson. If someone has ever treated you badly, remember that they are also creating karma for themselves. You don't need to resent. You don't need to seek revenge, because the universe already has its own fairness. Whoever sows what seed will reap what fruit, sooner or later. And if you are the one who is hurt, don't think you are at a disadvantage. That pain is an opportunity for you to pay off past karmic debts, so your soul can be lighter, so you can take more serene steps on your path forward. In Buddhist scriptures, there is a saying, "The law of karma is impartial. It spares no one." This means that no matter how much we evade, conceal, or skillfully maneuver, we cannot escape the consequences of our actions. Like a shadow that never leaves its form, like an echo that follows a sound, karma always accompanies us, waiting for the day to ripen and bear flowers or bitter fruit. Good deeds are like wholesome seeds sown in the earth. Sooner or later, they will sprout. Bad deeds are like poisonous seeds. Though they may initially thrive, they will eventually wither and destroy the one who sowed them. Therefore, instead of dwelling on every injustice, instead of suffering when others harm us, let us learn to be calm, knowing that the law of karma will judge on our behalf. Let us dedicate our energy to wholesome deeds, to cultivation, and to compassion. When you sow smiles, words of comfort, and helping hands into life, you are sowing good seeds for yourself. And then those seeds will sprout, bringing you peace, good fortune, and blessings in the days to come. If today you are in suffering, believe that it is the fruit of old seeds, but also an opportunity for you not to sow new, bitter seeds. Stop, take a deep breath, and begin to sow wholesome seeds again, with gratitude, with letting go, with faith in the impartial law of the universe. As the Buddha taught, everything is impermanent. Suffering does not last forever. And peace will come when we know how to turn inward and find the inner clarity of our soul. In this life, we may not be able to choose how others treat us, but we can choose how to react. When someone hurts us, instead of resenting, smile and think that they are helping us bear a part of our old karma. When you see someone wealthy but unwholesome, be patient and believe into karma, because the fairness of the universe, though slow, is certain. And when we keep our minds peaceful and sow good deeds, sweet fruits will come. My friend, remember a simple truth. Good or bad, all actions have consequences. No one can escape the cycle of karma. Live as if every word, every action of yours is a seed sown in the earth. Sow with sincerity, love, and compassion, so that one day, when the fruit ripens, you can smile in peace and tranquility. In life, each of us carries, more or less, wounds from the way others treat us. Sometimes it's a cold word that pierces our heart. Sometimes it's unfair actions at work. Or sometimes it's betrayal from someone we once trusted. We used to carry those sorrows for a long time, and each time we remembered them, our heart would clench as if a heavy stone was pressing on our chest. The more we thought about it, the more tired we felt, losing our peace. If pain is held in the heart indefinitely, it will gradually turn into a burden. No one can carry that burden for us. We ourselves must shoulder it day by day. Therefore, letting go is not weakness, but a way to give ourselves the opportunity to live peacefully. The Buddha once taught that all suffering in life originates from attachment. When we cling to resentment, we are like someone holding a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else, but ultimately burning ourselves first. However, karma operates fairly. Whoever sows what cause will reap what fruit. We don't need to harbor resentment, acting as judge and jury. We don't need to punish anyone. What we need to do is turn inward and examine our own mind, realizing that we suffer because we cannot let go. When we deeply understand the principle of impermanence, we realize that all events are merely fleeting breezes. Today may cause us pain, but tomorrow it will become a past memory. So why should we let the past bind our soul forever? I remember a former student once told me about her elementary school teacher, Ms. Mai. She was a kind person, dedicated to her students. However, in her work environment, not everyone was sincere and fond of her. A colleague, out of envy, often slandered her and spread negative rumors. Initially, Ms. Mai was very sad. She wondered why she lived kindly and wholeheartedly, yet was treated that way. For many years, she lived in self-pity, feeling hurt and lonely. Every time she met that colleague, her heart would ache as if the wound had never healed. Until one day, by chance, a friend encouraged her to try meditation, to sit still and observe her breath. At first, she found it difficult. Her mind was restless, and many old memories resurfaced. But gradually, with guidance, she learned to view her pain like a cloud passing across the sky, not holding on to it, not chasing it away, just quietly observing. Then she imagined holding a heavy stone in her hand and gently dropping it into a river. As the stone hit the water, it sank, ripples spread, and then slowly disappeared. In the same way, the resentment in her heart gradually dissolved. From then on, Ms. Mai no longer paid attention to gossip. She returned to simple joys, the laughter of her students, lively classroom sessions, and the flowers students brought her on holidays. Her heart felt lighter, and her face became brighter. Her colleague remained the same, still unchanged, but that no longer mattered. What mattered was that she herself had changed. She had let go of the burden in her heart so that her mind could be free. And when the mind is at peace, everything around also becomes more pleasant. Ms. Mai's story makes us reflect that often we suffer not because others hurt us, but because we keep clinging to that wound. Life is short. Each day that passes is one less day in our allotted time. If we keep dwelling in resentment, we will lose precious moments that could have been happy. Letting go is giving ourselves the opportunity to live fully, to laugh, to love, to be at peace. In meditation, we can practice a small exercise. Sit down, close your eyes, and breathe deeply. Imagine holding a heavy stone in your hand. This stone symbolizes the grudges and hurts you are carrying. Then imagine dropping that stone into the river in front of you. Hear the sound of the stone falling. Watch the ripples spread, and gradually become still again. That is the image of our mind when it learns to let go. Once released, we don't need to pick it up again because the current has carried it far away. Similarly, if we let go of sad events, they will drift into the past, no longer binding us. Letting go does not mean forgetting immediately, nor does it mean condoning wrongdoings. Letting go simply means not allowing old wounds to continue causing us suffering. As the Buddha taught, hatred cannot be appeased by hatred. Only love can appease hatred. When we no longer nourish hatred, we are truly free. Try once to sit quietly and smile at an old pain, saying to yourself, I have moved past this. Now I deserve to be at peace. If you still have many things in your heart that you cannot let go of, remember that it is also very natural. because we humans are often easily bound by memories. But don't blame yourself. Just practice a little each day, dropping small stones into the river of your mind. At some point, you will find your heart lighten. You may not completely forget what happened, but you will no longer feel pain when you think about them. Life, after all, is not about proving to others whether we are right or wrong, but about learning to live peacefully and freely. Don't make yourself a prisoner of the past. Open the door of your soul and step out. Take a deep breath and smile. Because every day you are alive is a gift, and that gift becomes priceless when your mind is no longer heavy with resentment. Letting go, ultimately, is the art of living for those who seek peace in a turbulent life. When you know how to let go, you will find your heart as you are, open as the sky after a rain, clear and light. And at that moment, you will silently thank those who once hurt you. Because, thanks to them, you learned this important lesson, the lesson of letting go. You see, only by dropping the stone into the river can we walk lightly. Similarly, only by letting go of resentment can we live a peaceful and free life. How many times have you asked yourself why, despite living kindly and sincerely, some people still treat you badly? Sometimes it's mocking words, sometimes indifference, even betrayal from people you once loved with all your heart. In that moment, our heart aches, our eyes well up, and our soul feels like it's being rubbed with salt. We tell ourselves, how could they treat me like this? Why is my kindness taken for granted? And then, it seems that for each person facing hurt, there are two paths. One is to sink into hatred and suffering, allowing the wound to deepen day by day. The other is to learn to see with different eyes, realizing that precisely at that moment, we have an opportunity to practice compassion, an opportunity to find light for ourselves. In Buddhist teachings, compassion, metta, is the core of a bodhisattva's vow. The Buddha taught that compassion should not only be directed towards those who love us, but also towards those who have caused us suffering. Because if we only love those who are easy to love, that compassion is incomplete. True compassion is when we can still feel pity for those who are lost in ignorance, for they are precisely the ones who need light the most. Like a lamp, if it only shines on an already bright place, its light becomes superfluous. But when it shines into darkness, its light truly has value. The person who causes us pain, after all, is just a sentient being led by karmic forces, lost in the darkness of ignorance. If we see them as an enemy, we will feel even heavier. But if we see them as a lost child, our heart will soften, our gaze will become gentler, and our soul will open more. The Buddha once taught that all sentient beings inherently possess the Buddha nature, meaning everyone can become good. Everyone has the potential for enlightenment. But because greed, hatred, and delusion obscure them, they act wrongly. If we only cling to their wrongdoings and hate them, we will never see the bright part within them. Conversely, if we can look deeply, seeing that they too are suffering, we will easily generate compassion. Compassion is not to justify wrongdoing, but to prevent ourselves from being drawn into the whirlpool of hatred. Hatred never extinguishes hatred. Only compassion can do that. I remember a simple story that contains a profound lesson. In a small village, there was an old woman named Cook who sold sweet soup every day to make a living. Her small shop had only a few old wooden tables, but was always warm with her kind smile. In the village, there was a mischievous child who often caused trouble, kicking chairs as he passed by, and even once throwing pebbles into her sweet soup pot. People were furious for her. Some advised her to scold him or report him to the police as a deterrent. But Mrs. Cook just smiled, called the child over, scooped him a warm bowl of sweet soup, and said, "Child, eat to fill your stomach, but don't be mischievous anymore, because when you are mischievous, people are sad, and you don't feel happy either." At first, the child remained stubborn, even smirking disdainfully. However, gradually, her gentleness touched his heart. One day, he hesitantly apologized. From then on, he stopped causing trouble, and even helped her sweep and carry things. The villagers were very surprised, but Mrs. Cook just smiled kindly. She knew that compassion had transformed a young soul, something that anger or punishment could never do. That story made me reflect a lot. We often think that to change someone, we have to be firm. We have to punish them to make them remember. But in reality, punishments might make others afraid, but rarely make them truly change from within. Only compassion, only gentleness and tolerance have the ability to touch the root of the soul. And when the mind is transformed, behavior naturally changes. Compassion is like a cool drop of water poured onto a blazing fire of hatred, making it subside, while anger is like adding fuel to the fire, making it burn even bigger. Try to notice. When we harbor resentment in our hearts, we are the first to suffer. We find it hard to sleep, lose our appetite, and our mind is always agitated. But when we generate compassion, even before others feel it, we ourselves feel lighter. Compassion is the gift we give ourselves first. When we feel pity for someone who once hurt us, we are no longer a victim, but become the active sower of wholesome seeds. This perspective helps us rise above circumstances, not allowing negativity to drag us down. In practice, cultivating compassion is not an abstract concept. You can start by practicing slow breathing when things don't go your way. Place your hand on your chest, feel your heartbeat, and then tell yourself, that person is also suffering, which is why they made me suffer. I will not let myself be swept away by that cycle. Then you can try to send a blessing in your mind, as practiced in metta meditation. May you be at peace. May you be free from suffering. May you find happiness. Initially, it might feel difficult because there are still many wounds in your heart, but gradually you will find your heart opening more, feeling lighter. Compassion is not only shown in grand situations, but also in daily life. When we see a beggar on the street, instead of scorn, we can offer a smile or a kind word. When a difficult colleague causes trouble, instead of reacting harshly, we can patiently listen. When a family member gets angry, instead of retaliating immediately, we can remain silent to let their anger subside, and then gently share our thoughts later. These small things are the fertile ground for nurturing a compassionate mind. The Dhammapada states that hatred does not cease by hatred. By love alone does it cease. This is an eternal law. Indeed, only compassion can resolve hatred. And when we practice living with compassion, we not only heal ourselves, but also spread that peace to those around us. From a gentle glance, a soft word, a tolerant action, we can sow good seeds, which will one day sprout into a lush green forest. Do you see that, in this life, everyone wishes to be loved, but not everyone knows how to love? Some people, due to a lack of love, act in ways that are unconscious cries for help. If we respond with anger, we only cause them more suffering. But if we respond with compassion, we can be the ones to guide them back to the right path. Like a lost child, they don't need scolding, but a hand to hold, an eye to guide. And we can be that light, that hand. So, my friend, the next time someone hurts you, try to sit for a moment, breathe a little slower, and then ask yourself, what if, instead of anger, I generate compassion? See them as a lost child. Give them an opportunity to receive light. Because who knows, at that very moment, you are also giving yourself an opportunity for peace. After all, compassion is not just a gift we give to others, but the most precious gift we give to ourselves. Have you ever wondered why, in the same circumstances, some people easily get angry and anxious, while others maintain a calm demeanor and a peaceful heart? Perhaps you've experienced days in the office, hearing someone raise their voice at you, feeling your blood boil, getting angry, and wanting to retaliate. Or sometimes, within the family, just an unintentional word from a loved one can shake your heart. We often think that the attitudes and behaviors of others are the cause of our suffering. But have we ever paused to look deeper and realize that the root of peace or unrest actually lies not externally, but within our own mind? In Buddhist teachings, it is repeatedly emphasized that everything in this world is impermanent. All sensations, words, and actions are merely fleeting breezes. If we let our mind be like a clear lake, when the wind blows, it only creates gentle ripples that soon settle. Then no storm can disturb it for long. But if our heart is already filled with anger and attachment, then even a small pebble dropping is enough to stir up waves, causing us to lose our serenity. The Buddha once taught that the root of suffering lies in greed, hatred, and delusion. When we see others treating us badly and immediately get angry, it is because we still nourish resentment. When we allow others' words to control our emotions, it is because we haven't truly seen that everything arises and ceases according to the law of cause and effect. I want to tell you a short story about Mr. Huang, an office worker. He was a kind and hard-working person, but had a very short-tempered boss. If work was slightly delayed, there was a small mistake. The boss would immediately yell and scold him in front of everyone. Initially, Mr. Huang felt extremely frustrated. Each time he was scolded, he felt like fire was burning inside him, and he couldn't get any work done all day. He felt looked down upon, insulted, and often went home feeling heavy-hearted. But one day, by chance, a friend invited him to a Dharma talk. In that Dharma talk, the teacher explained that no one can take away our peace unless we allow it. Peace does not lie in the attitudes of others, but in how we choose to react to events. That statement was like a ray of light illuminating his soul. He began to practice sitting still, breathing deeply. Each time he was scolded, he silently reminded himself, "This anger only exists if I nourish it. If I don't accept it, it will drift away like clouds in the sky." After some time, something miraculous happened. The boss was still as short-tempered as before, still yelling as usual, but Mr. Huang was different. He no longer brought the frustration home. He no longer let the heavy mood haunt him all day. There was serenity in his eyes and lightness in his smile. He realized that true peace is not when everything around is favorable, but when his heart is steadfast amidst all changes. When we understand this, we will see that others may utter unpleasant words or act unkindly, but they cannot touch the root of our inner peace unless we hand them the key ourselves. Peace is like a garden within each person. If we nurture it with mindfulness, understanding, and compassion, then even if there is a storm outside, that garden will remain green and lush. But if we neglect it, allowing weeds of resentment and sorrow to grow, then just a small gust of wind is enough to lay that garden to waste. You can try a simple exercise. Every day, spend at least 5 minutes sitting quietly, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly. When thoughts of frustration or worry arise, just observe them like clouds drifting across the sky of your mind, whispering to yourself, "No one can take away my peace unless I allow it." This way, you will gradually feel more steadfast. A friend once shared that after just 1 month of consistent practice, she no longer easily cried or got angry because of unintentional words from colleagues. Instead, she smiled, wished them well, and reminded herself, "They are under the influence of karmic forces. I don't need to carry that burden in my heart." In life, we cannot avoid encountering people who are unkind or impolite. But instead of letting our hearts be crushed, we can choose to keep our minds like a still lake. Storms may come, but the lake will become calm again when we don't cling to the waves. That is also how we live lightly, let go, and heal ourselves. A simple but very true saying, true peace lies in how we react, not in external circumstances. And when we understand that, we will no longer chase after things or blame. We will simply smile quietly, letting the winds of life blow by, while our hearts remain calm. Have you ever asked yourself why we often only appreciate something when it's out of our reach? Have you ever regretted not saying a loving word, not spending time with loved ones before parting ways? Perhaps in life, everyone has experienced such a situation at least once. People often think they have plenty of time, that tomorrow, next week, or next month, there will still be opportunities to care, to cherish, to love. However, life is impermanent. It doesn't forewarn us which day will be the last we see each other. It doesn't tell us when this body will be afflicted with illness, or when a close relationship will suddenly become distant. Therefore, there are 3 things that Buddhists, and indeed everyone in life, needs to remember. Don't wait until you lose something to appreciate it. Don't wait until you're sick to value your health. And don't wait until parting ways to regret not having expressed your feelings. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha always reminds us about impermanence. Impermanence means that everything in the world changes every minute. Nothing lasts forever, as we often think. This body will grow old and weak. Wealth will be lost. Loved ones will also eventually pass away. If we are not aware of this, we will easily fall into the illusion that everything belongs to us, that we have the right to postpone love and happiness. In fact, in the 4 Noble Truths, the Buddha clearly pointed out that the root of suffering lies in attachment, clinging, and delusion. We cling to this body, forgetting that it is fragile. We cling to loved ones, forgetting that everyone is subject to the laws of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Because we don't fully understand impermanence, we often live carelessly, forgetting the preciousness of every moment. And then, when we lose something, tears are already too late. There's an everyday story that the Applied Buddhist Teachings channel wants to share with you. The story of Ms. Tui, whom I had the opportunity to know. She was a medical professional at a large hospital. Her daily work was so busy that she barely had time for herself, let alone her family. She left for work early in the morning and returned late at night. Every time her parents called to check on her, she would just give a brief answer. "I'm busy. I'll call you back later." But that call was never made. Deep down, she thought her parents were still healthy, that after her work became more stable, she would have time for them. But life doesn't give us such a promise. Her father suddenly became seriously ill and passed away forever after only a few months. It was then that Ms. Tui realized with shock that she had never sat and talked with her father for long, never held his hand to say thank you, never had the chance to fully express her filial piety. The last photo she kept of her father was not a joyful one, but a hurried hospital photo with a tired face. That remorse stayed with her for many years, so every time she mentioned her father, her eyes would well up. This story is not uncommon. How many children in this life are still absorbed in work, in fame, in daily busyness, forgetting that their parents are growing older day by day. By the time they realize it, their parents have passed away, leaving an irreplaceable void. Buddhist scriptures state, "The kindness of a father is like Mount Tai Sun. The righteousness of a mother is like water flowing from a spring." Mountains can erode, water can dry up, but a parent's love for their child never ceases. Yet, we often unconsciously forget that gratitude until it's too late. So, my dear friend, why do we have to wait until we lose something to appreciate it? Why don't we love and be grateful right when we still can? Practicing filial piety doesn't require grand gestures, just a phone call to check in, a family meal, a simple "Mom and Dad, I love you very much" is enough to warm their hearts. While you still can, give them your most sincere attention. Because, as the Buddha taught, showing filial piety to parents is one of the greatest good deeds in a person's life. Not only in family relationships, but even towards ourselves, we often forget something invaluable: health. Many people keep chasing after work, staying up late and waking up early, eating irregularly, until illness strikes, and then they rush to find a cure. When we are young, we think we have plenty of health to waste. But as we get older, we realize that nothing is more precious than this body. The Buddha taught that a human body is difficult to obtain, and the Dharma is difficult to hear. To obtain a human body is an extremely precious karmic opportunity. Yet we take it lightly. When illness knocks on our door, we realize how important health is. If we cherish this body, we will live moderately, know how to rest, and nurture our body and mind with mindfulness. Then life will be peaceful and happy. And there's one more thing: emotions. How many relationships, only when they crack or break apart, do we regret not having cherished them in time? Many people live together under one roof, but rarely sit down to truly listen to each other. Many couples think they will be together forever. But when an incident occurs and one leaves, they feel deep regret. Have you ever thought that one day the people you take for granted will no longer be by your side? If you cherish them, you will choose to listen more, hug more, and express love more. Practicing in daily life is very simple. Every morning when you wake up, tell yourself, "Today I still have my parents. Today I still have my breath. Today I still have my health, so I must live fully." No matter how busy you are, take a little time to care for those you love. No matter how tired you are, take a moment for yourself to rest. A moment of mindfulness. Don't wait until tomorrow to start, because tomorrow is inherently uncertain. If you find it difficult to practice, start with the smallest things. Try to call your parents every day. Try to write a few words of thanks to a friend you cherish. Try to go to bed early so your body can rest. Practice mindful eating to protect your health. Each small action is a way of sowing seeds of peace for tomorrow. When we sow good seeds, beautiful karmic conditions will blossom in the future. You see? Life is not that long. One human life is but a fleeting glimpse through a window. If we wait, we will lose so much. Therefore, those three things not to wait for are a profound reminder. Don't wait until you lose something to appreciate it. Don't wait until you're sick to value your health. And don't wait until parting ways to regret your affections. Every day we live, we love, we are healthy. That is already a miracle. Live fully in this very moment, so that later, when you look back, you don't have to utter the words, "if only." And if I could sum it up in one message, the Applied Buddhist Teachings channel only wants to say, love and cherish right now, because tomorrow might be too late. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where just an unintentional word made your whole day feel heavy, your mind confused, and your heart hurt? Sometimes it's not an action, not a major event, but just a fleeting remark, even a scolding, a criticism that is enough to weigh down our hearts. It's strange how words are invisible, cannot be seen or touched, yet they have the power to make the heart ache and keep people awake all night. There have also been times when we were sad for a whole week just because of a harsh word. That is the weight of karmic speech, something we often don't realize, and then unintentionally sow more seeds of suffering for ourselves and others. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha taught that body, speech, and mind all create karma. Many people think that only physical actions cause consequences, but in reality, words also have an incredibly powerful karmic impact. A harsh word can be like an arrow shot into the heart, while a kind, affectionate word is like a cool breeze that calms anger and brings peace to the listener. The Buddha once taught that the Noble Eightfold Path includes right speech, meaning speaking truthfully, kindly, harmoniously, and beneficially. When we speak deceitful words, divisive words, harsh words, or frivolous, meaningless words, these are the four things that give rise to karmic speech, causing consequences not only for the listener, but also for our own soul. Try to think, haven't there been times in your life when you got angry and uttered a thoughtless remark, only to regret it later? We may not intend to hurt anyone, but a harsh word is enough to damage family ties, fade friendships, and deeply crack marital bonds. The consequences are immediate, my friend, because the very moment we utter a rude word, our heart generates anger, sowing a bad seed within ourselves. Conversely, when we practice speaking gently, encouragingly, and forgivingly, we are sowing wholesome seeds, sowing blessings to live in love, trust, and respect later on. There is an everyday story that I will always remember. Mr. Fook, a motorbike taxi driver in the city, lived a rather difficult life. He was kind and hard-working, but had one weakness. He was very short-tempered. One day, a customer urged him to drive faster. In his irritation, Mr. Fook uttered harsh, heavy, and even insulting words to the customer. The customer immediately got off the motorbike, walked away while scolding him, and later recounted the incident to many acquaintances. Gradually, Mr. Fook earned a bad reputation for being rude, lost customers, and his income declined. It was then that he reflected and felt regret. He said that because of 1 minute of anger, one thoughtless word, his livelihood was affected. From then on, he practiced self-control, learned to smile, and speak gently. It was very difficult at first, but then he realized that the more patient and kind he was, the more customers appreciated him. Many people even intentionally sought him out for rides. He confided that thanks to changing the way he spoke, his life had changed. Not only did he gain more customers and income, but he also felt lighter, less irritated, and less troubled. Mr. Fook's story shows us that words can indeed save a person's life, and they can also ruin a life. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, "Though one may conquer 1,000 times 1,000 men in battle, yet he indeed is the noblest victor who conquers himself." And in cultivating speech, it is the same. To conquer the anger in one's mouth and tongue, to maintain gentle words instead of uttering hurtful ones, that is a great victory. Because we have conquered our own hot-tempered ego, preserved blessings for ourselves, and brought peace to others. Do you realize that often, when we speak harshly to someone, they forget the words quickly, but the wound in their heart lasts a very long time? Some people are haunted their whole lives by a criticism from childhood, becoming self-conscious and afraid to move forward. Some people become sad and despairing just because of a single scolding. That is the terrifying power of karmic speech. Therefore, cultivating speech is not an abstract matter, but a practical path to protect ourselves and those we love. Practicing right. Speech does not mean complete silence, but knowing when to choose the right words at the right time with the right intention. When facing an unpleasant situation, instead of uttering harsh words, we can take a deep breath, exhale slowly, remain silent for a moment, and then speak with calmness. When a loved one makes a mistake, instead of blaming, we try to offer words of encouragement and gentle advice. When friends unintentionally cause hurt, instead of retaliating with harshness, we try to choose a word of forgiveness. These words are like cool water, extinguishing the fire of anger, sowing more seeds of love. You see, a timely apology is worth more than 1,000 late regrets. When we admit our fault, we do not lose honor, but sow respect in the hearts of others. When we say thank you, we lose nothing, but receive wushua and closeness. When we know how to be silent instead of arguing, we do not lose, but conquer the anger in our own hearts. These are ways to cultivate speech in everyday life that anyone can practice, regardless of wealth or status. If today you feel your heart is still filled with anger and frustration, try to start by observing your speech. Each time you are about to say something, ask yourself, is this word truly necessary? Will this word cause suffering to the listener? Will this word bring peace? If the answer is no, it's best to let it dissolve in silence. Day by day, we get used to speaking kindly. Then the environment around us will gradually change. Family will be more harmonious, friends closer, society more pleasant. And above all, our hearts will be more peaceful. Cultivating speech is preserving blessings for ourselves, because a harsh word can make us lose all the merit we have cultivated. Conversely, a kind word can make up for many mistakes. A person who knows how to speak wholesome, loving words will be like a fragrant flower, loved and respected wherever they go. A person who often utters harsh words is no different from carrying sharp thorns. Anyone who comes near them will be afraid and avoid them. So, my friend, do not underestimate the power of words. A single word can be hell, or it can be heaven. A word spoken in anger can ruin a relationship, but a loving word can heal an old wound. Cultivating speech is cultivating the mind, because words reflect the inner self. When we maintain a peaceful mind, our mouth will naturally utter peaceful words. When our heart is filled with love, our words will naturally be gentle and sweet. And remember that speaking good is sowing seeds of blessing. Remaining silent in the face of evil is avoiding sowing karma. And knowing how to apologize, how to thank, and how to forgive is sowing more peace for life. Everything we say today will become karmic retribution tomorrow. Therefore, choose wholesome seeds right from your words. In conclusion, I want to convey to you that cultivating speech is not something too distant or difficult, but a simple path to nurture love, preserve happiness, and accumulate blessings. Every wholesome word is a step towards peace. Every time we restrain ourselves, choosing gentleness instead of harshness, is another time we sow blessings for ourselves. Try starting today with a kind word, a thank you, a moment of appropriate silence, and you will find life much lighter. Have you ever wondered why, in this life, there are times when we try to live kindly and decently, yet still encounter indifference, coldness, or even bitter words from others? Sometimes it's strangers, not close to us, who know nothing about us, yet are ready to utter harsh words. Sometimes it's family members, friends, or colleagues with whom we shared so many memories, who suddenly turn their backs, leaving us with frustration and pain. At such moments, our heart feels like it's pierced by a needle, both aching and bewildered. Why am I treated this way when I live decently? Why is life so unfair? When faced with such situations, our mind often gets swept away by emotions. Some choose resentment, some choose to close off their hearts, and some live in continuous suffering. But if we calm down and look a little deeper, we will realize that everything that happens to us has a cause. The Buddha taught that all phenomena in this world are not accidental. Everything that comes and goes is part of the law of karma. How others treat us is also the fruit of seeds sown in many lifetimes. Sometimes it's not in this lifetime, but from countless previous lifetimes. If we understand this, our mind will gradually let go of resentment and instead embrace empathy and even gratitude. In Buddhist teachings, Karma is the sum total of all actions, words, and thoughts we have created. Karma does not disappear. It merely waits for the right conditions to ripen. When someone treats us badly, that is when a part of our karma is ripening. But strangely, within suffering, there is a gift. That person has become the karmic condition for us to repay karma, instead of it ripening as an accident, a serious illness, or a major life event. When we are offended by a word, a disrespectful act, we feel a little pain in our heart, but that is a way for karma to be resolved. And the person who treats us badly, unintentionally, becomes the one who bears a part of that burden for us. Understanding this, we no longer feel hatred, but feel lighter. I remember once hearing a very common story. A kind and benevolent woman who spent her whole life caring for her family, never doing anything bad to anyone. Yet, she was constantly ostracized by her neighbor, who often picked fights and uttered harsh words. Initially, she was very sad. Every time she heard those words, she lost sleep all night, her heart always heavy. Until one day, she went to the temple to listen to a Dharma talk. The teacher explained, "Those who curse us, scold us, hit us, are actually helping us repay karma. If not for them, that karma would pursue us in another form, perhaps much heavier." From that day on, she changed. Each time her neighbor spoke harshly, she no longer felt sad, but silently recited Amitabha Buddha's name. "Thank you for helping me repay a part of my karma." Surprisingly, that shift in her mind made her feel more at peace, no longer suffering as before. And then her neighbor gradually changed her attitude because she no longer saw her react, no longer saw her suffer. That story makes us understand that when we view things in the light of Buddhist teachings, all suffering can be transformed. Instead of blaming, we choose gratitude. Instead of holding on to anger in our heart, we choose to let go. Life is impermanent. Everything comes and goes. Only our mind determines happiness or suffering. So now, when someone treats us badly, take a deep breath and smile, thinking that they are helping us bear a part of our karma. Don't let your heart be entangled by hatred, because hatred only makes us heavier. Let your heart be filled with love, because love alone can heal everything. When we love, we no longer see anyone as an enemy, but only see them, like us, as beings adrift in the cycle of samsara, each suffering in their own unique way. In daily life, we can practice this by cultivating the habit of letting go. Whenever someone hurts us, instead of reacting immediately, pause and recite Namo Amitabha Buddha. That recitation is like a cool drop of water poured into the soul, helping us calm down, helping us not get swept away by anger. Then we remind ourselves that they are not truly bad people. They are merely being led by their own karma. If we embrace more hatred, we only sow more karma for ourselves. But if we choose to forgive, choose to be grateful, then we are sowing a wholesome cause, a seed of peace for ourselves and for those around us. Happiness is not far away. It lies in how we perceive things. Others may hurt us, but we alone decide whether we suffer or not. When we change our perspective, the whole world around us will also change. From then on, every day becomes a day worth living. A day we can smile and feel lighthearted. So the final message I want to send you today is, Don't be sad when someone treats you badly. Thank them because they are bearing a part of your karma for you. Live peacefully, lovingly, letting go, so that every day is a happy day. And as our hearts close this listening session today, please join me in reciting Namo Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha.